Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Heard every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 o'clock right here on 90.3 FM. Joe Steckler is off today, recovering from his knee surgery. And filling in today is Kerry Fink with our special guest, Bill Johnson. Hi, Kerry.
Hello, John. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Well, it's a lovely day. I was telling Bill as I came into the studio, I talked to our illustrious leader, President and Founder Joe Steckler. He is home, as you know, from having the knee surgery, recuperating. They're working him through the physical therapy. They are working him through occupational therapy and all the things that are part of that. And if you know Joe, he is the most tireless advocate for seniors, I think, ever, probably without question. And so what Joe, if you go onto Facebook, the little thing where you would put up what's going on with you, it always asks you this question: what is on your mind? So Joe, being Joe, this is what he wrote. We actually posted this out on the Helping Seniors page. He says, from the Helping Seniors President and Founder Joe Steckler, he says, what is on my mind is our need to sell these tickets as time is running out for us. And he's talking about the car raffle tickets, of course. If I told you I had a new knee last week, would that spur you on? Well, I did. So get those tickets, as I can still not walk, as I had 2 bad knees. We do need your help, so please consider helping us. So even while Joe is in the middle of trying to work on his own health, what's he concerned about? He's concerned about helping seniors throughout Brevard. So I think that is I can't think of a better kind of a testimonial for where Joe stands on all of that.
Kerry, we have a recording of Joe talking about the car raffle, and let's go ahead and do that right now.
And today I'm making a special appeal to you to support our car raffle on 10 October 2010. We're going to raffle off a car, and you can choose between 4 cars offered by Boniface Cars: a Challenger, a Camaro, a Sportage, or a Mazda convertible. The tickets are $25 per ticket donation, or 5 tickets for a $100 donation. But the real important thing is, folks, in this pandemic that we've been experiencing in the country, all nonprofits are going through a very, very difficult time with fundraising because we simply cannot get together because of the importance of social distancing. So you can support us by calling 473-7770 or going online to helpingseniors.carraffle.com and getting a ticket and supporting a charity. And we will appreciate your support, because your support will help us help people that need help. Many thanks.
It's 321-473-7770. That's the number Joe was referring to. That is also the Senior Information Helpline. And so I was actually going to ask you, Bill, and ask you, John, because, both of you have worked with Joe even predating Helping Seniors, which is now going into its 10th year. So you have seen firsthand the kind of work that Joe has done in our community over these years.
I have, and he's a tireless warrior, as you said.
It really is amazing. Here he's recovering from the knee surgery on one knee, total knee replacement, and now he's anxious to get the other knee done. And nonetheless, as you mentioned, Kerry, at the outset of the show, Joe is right there in front of his laptop computer with his leg having to be kept extended, and he's doing all the work that is necessary so that he doesn't get behind. And it's really something to admire as far as his work ethic and the things that Joe is able to do. Absolutely amazing, and you got to love it.
Yeah, you guys may remember, I like to tell this story because it really is the spirit behind Helping Seniors. About a year into when Joe had formed Helping Seniors, he had a stroke. And so Joe, even while he's lying in the hospital bed trying to get better, and they're pushing him through all these different therapies, Joe says, bring cameras down. I want you guys to film this so people can see exactly that if you just don't quit, you'll be able to get through this. And Joe bounced back, and we did a show, literally a TV show with him, literally 1 year to the day of his stroke, and it was just phenomenal how he had been able to fight back from that. And then when he had cataract surgery, it was the same thing. He asked the film crew to get in scrubs. They got all kind of special permissions. Went into the operating room and filmed Joe's cataract surgery because he wanted to show people you don't really have to be afraid of this. You can have your sight back. And so thanks to the great people at the Eye Institute for helping us with that. But then, too, you guys also know that when I talked to Joe yesterday, and this wouldn't surprise you, he's working on articles because he wants people to understand what it is like to go through the knee surgery and to get the help that you need from your doctors at the right time. It's just really amazing.
Well, I had a hip replacement, if that'll help sell tickets.
Well, let's sell tickets. So before we jump into today's topic of the program, which Bill and I were talking about, and this is really what I would call breaking news. This has to do with the governor's order as far as what is now going to be permitted going forward as to visitors if you have a loved one, say, in an assisted living or some kind of a senior living facility. So that's what we're going to get to. But real quickly, one more time, the phone number for the car raffle, 321-473-7770. Kim will get you set up with tickets. Tell him you're supporting Joe's knee. I think he would appreciate that.
And tell them what kind of cars there are.
Oh, good point. So this is actually the fun part of our job. You know, we deal with a lot of serious stuff, but this is the fun part. The winner gets their choice. Joe and AJ Hires, the car dealer extraordinaire, worked this out. They can pick from a 2020 Chevrolet Camaro, a 2020 Dodge Challenger, the ever popular and quite practical 2020 Kia Sportage, or the fun to tool around near the beach 2020 Mazda Miata convertible. So actually, you know, we have a survey. If you go to helpingseniorscarraffle.com, it's just for fun, but you can put in which car is your favorite. So, John, do you have a favorite?
I like the Dodge.
You like the Dodge. Bill?
I'm with the Dodge.
Okay. So you guys remember last year when we had the
car boys.
Yeah, when we had the big confab at the American Muscle Car Museum, that was the car that the winner picked, and she wanted the car that was right there on the floor that night, and so that's what she's tooling around with today. So we'll see what this year's winner picks. Now, we're not able, I think we talked about this last week, because of the COVID restrictions, we're not able to actually have the crowd event. However, we're going to be there all day. October 10th is the drawing date, and we're going to be there with Facebook live broadcast, YouTube live broadcast. You're going to see some great tours of some great cars there. And the nicest part about this, Joe had a meeting with Mark Pylock, who is the owner of the Muscle Car Museum, and he said, Joe, I really want to help you guys any way I can. I'm so sorry that we're all in the middle of this COVID thing. He said, but I'm going to make this good for your ticket holders. He said, I'm going to give you guys not one, but actually 3 make good dates as soon as COVID gets lifted, and just they'll be able to bring their tickets. I'll let them into the museum free of charge on those days. I'll even bring the pizza and sodas and stuff because I really want everybody to know it's important, the work that you guys do. So just looking forward to all of it. But I guess let's turn to the topic for today. And this is really breaking news, Bill, isn't it? This just came out, the governor's order, where we are talking about that some restrictions are changing as far as visiting loved ones in these facilities.
As you probably know, Kerry, a lot of the deaths in Florida were a result of the COVID-19 virus. In some places, over half the deaths were attributable to outbreaks at long-term care facilities, which would include assisted living facilities and nursing homes. So subsequently to that, when we had our lockdown, they immediately barred all visitors from those facilities. And up until this week, you could not get in to visit a loved one if they were in assisted living or in a nursing home. And to some extent, even hospitals had done that as well to prevent outbreaks within hospitals. Well, the governor changed the rules this week and basically is now allowing visitation at those facilities. However, it is somewhat restricted, obviously because of the vulnerability of the residents to these or to COVID-19. So they're going to allow visitors up to, you can designate up to 5 visitors, and only 2 at a time can go in to visit. You can't have any contact with the individual unless you are either an essential or a compassionate caregiver, and we'll talk about what that means. And also, they're not going to let any minors in right now, and that may change. But so if you go in, you would have to social distance. You will have to wear protective gear. You'll have to have your temperature taken. Probably have to answer a questionnaire. Have you been out of the country? Have you had COVID? All those things. There was an interesting case where a gentleman was trying to get in to see his wife, and he actually took up a job. Actually, was not. I had it backwards. A woman was trying to get in to see her husband, and because they had no visitors, she actually took a job at the facility as a dishwasher.
Wow.
So she became staff, which obviously is allowed in the facility, and was able to go see her husband that way. And I think that inspired somewhat some of the rule change that we see because of that. And part of the problem is, these people are very vulnerable to the virus. And in fact, a lot of them, when they get it, they pass away within days. So it has been kind of a touchy thing, but at the same time, to deny them contact with their loved ones has been very hard on them emotionally. The facilities have improvised. They've used services like Skype, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, so that you could, through technology, visit. Some facilities have set up areas where your loved one would be put on one side of a window, you would be on the other, and you could communicate. But to date, nobody's been allowed in.
Bill, her name was Mary Daniels, and today she gave her 2 weeks' notice.
Oh, did she?
There you go.
Oh, great story, though.
Well, I actually was talking. We were for the first time. We were commenting. It's been 6 months, I guess, since we've been impacted by some level of COVID restrictions, and so last week we were all back in our offices, the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. First time, really effectively. Doesn't mean people hadn't been in and out, but we were actually filming our Helping Seniors television program, which airs 3 times daily on Space Coast television. So you can catch us in the morning at 8:30, and then at 4:30 in the afternoon and 5 o'clock. 3 different episodes every day. And of course, you can find those same TV shows at Helping Seniors of Brevard or on our Helping Seniors of Brevard YouTube channel.
And what channel is that on cable?
So on cable, it's actually 3 different. If you have cable, you have Space Coast Government TV. So on Spectrum, it's channel 499. On AT&T, if you have the U-verse, it's an app, and you go to the government services and you find Brevard County. And then apparently even some homes have Comcast in certain areas, and it's available there as well. I believe that's channel 51. It's like there's a difference if you're in North Brevard or South Brevard. In any case, we have it all listed out on helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. But you can find those shows. But we were back in there filming Helping Seniors television for the first time, and it occurred to me, it was like 6 months. So we were talking with Greg Kennedy, who is the executive director of Zon Beachside, because if you've ever been to our offices, you understand we are a separate wing of that whole facility. And I remember when Greg came to us at the beginning of March, and he said, you guys, we have to kind of lock you out of the facility. And we said, why? I mean, because at that time, nobody had heard really much about COVID, or we certainly didn't have the understanding we do now. And he said, no, we've got to keep our seniors safe. And I was telling him when I saw him last week, it is phenomenal because you called that one 100% right.
Yeah, they were actually one of the first facilities to go to a lockdown, which was the right call at that time, and certainly set the trend for everybody else to follow.
Yeah, and the thing that I think is encouraging, Bill, is I actually did Helping Seniors Update. That's the social media thing we do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And this morning, our guest was Sharice Durham, who is she's with the Hibiscus Court Assisted Living and Memory Care there in Melbourne. And they have also been able to be 100% COVID-free. And she said the same thing. She said, we locked down early. And she said, so we're actually having big meetings today. We've got the governor's order, and we want to make sure we've been able to keep seniors safe. So we just want to be sure that as we follow the governor's guidelines, that we're able to keep that record. Because apparently, as long as we do all the right things, the wearing the masks, like we're all sitting in the radio studio now with our masks on, we are working on our social distancing. We have tons of hand sanitizer, all the things, and trying to just stay clean and safe. And so apparently the word seems to be if we don't let up our guard, we do fine, right, John?
Well, apparently, and you're right, Kerry, and from what I'm hearing in reports that have been coming out since yesterday, apparently, finally, Americans are taking the hint, getting the clue that wearing the mask does make a difference in trying to keep the virus from spreading, as we're now into some of the lowest levels that we've had in quite some time of reported cases. So wearing the mask, washing your hands frequently, keeping the social distancing, I think it's helping to win the war, and we just have to keep it going.
I think you're so right. Now, Bill, we talked along the way about all the changes that you've had to make in your legal practice, because with seniors, I mean, all their needs keep moving along. Now, does anything in this governor's order change how you're able to interact?
Well, it could. Like I said, you could name up to 5 visitors. So certainly if we had to get some documents signed, we could at least get 2 folks back to help facilitate that, which would make our job a heck of a lot easier. There's a couple caveats I should mention to the governor's order, and you can't have any visitors unless you've had 14 days from your last outbreak. So you have to be 14 days free of COVID before you can even entertain visitors. And like I said, there's no touching unless you meet the definition of an essential caregiver, and that is one that provides healthcare services or assistance with daily life, bathing, dressing, eating, something like that. Compassionate caregivers are those who are allowed in to support the resident if they have difficult situations like facing the end of life, a difficult transition from the nursing home to the assisted living, or the hospital to the nursing home, or some other kind of emotional need. So there are some exceptions to the no-touch rule, and you have to fall into that caregiver status, essential caregiver, compassionate caregiver, and then you get a little more leeway into that. But yes, this will drastically help us in getting documents signed and things like that.
Yeah, because I remember you were talking. You've talked about how you guys had to really reconfigure your law offices with to make sure that people coming in were safe, or even where you came up with like a drive-through lane for signings and things like that.
Correct. We take temperature of everybody who comes in. We have them all wear masks. If they didn't bring on one, we have them there. We sanitize the conference room in between each and every client. We have a sneeze guard even across the conference room table. I'm wearing a mask. And that's if you want to come in the office. If you don't want to come in, we can do your signing and you can sit in your car in the parking lot. We'll have one person approach you, give you the paperwork, give you a pen that you can keep, and you can sign everything, and everybody will just stay down the sidewalk and observe. Far away.
And we were talking about this too. I remember it provided you guys some really unique challenges. If a person was in facility, then you guys had to really think of ways to be creative to get the documents signed. And usually, as we've talked about, a lot of times these things come up in sort of an emergency kind of situation.
Yeah, usually we do a lot of Medicaid planning, so we're trying to help people find ways to pay for long-term care. And a lot of the folks that are in facilities don't have powers of attorney, and we need those to be able to do what we need to do. And a lot of facilities at the beginning didn't have any way really for us to get documents signed. And as we have gone through several months of this now, a lot of them have really adapted to meet the needs. They've set up areas where we can have the person on one side of a window and the the witnesses and the notary on the other side. They've set up areas where we can accomplish that. They've been quite helpful in getting things done, because obviously it probably affects their bottom line, especially if somebody's running out of money and has no way to pay the facility. It would behoove them to help us get the person on public benefits.
And that's the conversation that we also had was that you have really been deemed an essential business even during the thick of the crisis, because life goes on. These things happen, and then somebody needs to be in place to help make sure the wheels can kind of keep turning.
And you're exactly right. I mean, people still fall, break hips, end up in long-term care facilities. People still get Alzheimer's or dementia and need somebody to help them, with their activities of daily living. So the need for people to actually have someone assist them while they're in these facilities, it really got a lot more complicated with the virus. And so life, as you said, life goes on. Things still happen. And, we still have people having strokes and heart attacks and all that. And subsequently, we had to innovate on how to get these documents signed.
Yeah, it's interesting how that kind of makes you put you up there on the front line with everybody else, because, like I said, these matters of life, they just keep moving on. If somebody was just before, we're getting close to our mid-show break, but if somebody's going to call the law office and maybe get some personalized answers to questions, or maybe this is causing them to think that maybe they need to get some answers to some questions, how do they get in touch with your office?
They can call the office at 321-253-1667.
Okay, that's good. And by the way, you publish a brilliant piece each year that is like a guide. Talk about that. We have just a moment left.
Yeah, we publish a book called the Florida Long-Term Care and Nursing Home Answer Book. It's a pamphlet. One time it was quite a book. We've pared it down to kind of a pamphlet that is available either freestanding at a lot of locations in senior centers, or if you can't find it there, a lot of times it's inserted actually into the Boomer Guide that is published, and there's a free copy in the middle of that. Or call the office, and we'll send you one at no charge.
And that number before we break away?
321-253-1667.
All right. Stick around. More coming up on Helping Seniors Radio.
Wednesday, that means it's Helping Seniors of Brevard with Joe Steckler. Joe Steckler is recovering from his knee surgery from a week or so ago. And right now, taking the place of Joe, here's Kerry Fink. Hello again, Kerry.
Thank you, John. It's always a pleasure to be on the radio here with Joe, and we look forward to welcoming his return to WEJF 90.3 FM, the home for Helping Seniors Radio here along the Space Coast, 30,000 watts booming up and down the Space Coast. And today, while Joe is literally probably at this moment working his way through physical therapy and occupational therapy, and I would say be looking for articles, because Joe, he's going to document his whole experience to give you some inspiration. So I'm sure we're going to see articles in Hometown News and Senior Scene Magazine and Barefoot Tattler, and he's going to have some words of encouragement about all that. So today we have some words of encouragement from board-certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson, because you've really kept up with us, and we're talking about that maybe we're sort of at things are shifting to another new normal, because I guess we were reading that the governor has now changed some restrictions that we may be able to have some visitors to a mom or dad or a loved one that may be in some kind of an assisted living facility.
Correct, Kerry. And it's in response. There's been an outcry from the facilities that these people are floundering actually without the contact with their loved ones. And there should be a way, if we can all go to a restaurant, there should be a way that we can have people come in and visit these folks safely. And so, that's, I think, the logic behind the rule change.
Yeah, when we filmed television, we filmed it there at the offices of the Senior Resource Center Brevard, which is where our office normally is. We just haven't really been functioning there because it's not been open to the public due to COVID precautions. That's easy for me to say. And but when we were in there, that room, that conference room that we were filming the TV, that's where they've been doing their teleconferencing. So they literally blocked it out for us the whole day, and then they were going to go in and do a thorough scrub down after we were finished to make sure that it was safe for the seniors when they came back the following day. But they've set it up so that they can Zoom conference or whatever with the relatives. And so I guess family members make appointments and they come at their appointed time, and then they're able to visit with their family. But this may open it up a little bit so that now people can get together a little bit more personally. True.
And, I think part of the biggest thing in this is that you can have actually people who are, essential or compassionate caregivers that can actually have physical touch. Again, you have to go through a bunch of hoops, but at least we can get some people in there because it's still not the same as, teleconferencing still isn't the same as being there.
Yeah. Last week on the radio, our guests were Jennifer Helen, who is Seniors Helping Seniors of Brevard. They're the organization that provides home help. In other words, they hire seniors who can come into your home and help with things like, maybe meal preparation. Normally they might drive you to your doctor or help you with errands, but they certainly can do things around the house, whether it be fixing up or maybe just laundries and things like that. But they're there sort of as companion care to help. And the topic of the show that we covered last week, our other guest was Dr. Kevin Kilday, who's Holistic Health Center. And so the topic that the two of them were discussing was this challenge that while we may have the medical aspect, we know how to keep people safe medically, there's also sort of, I guess I would call it the emotional or isolation issues and all that. That's what we were talking about last week on the radio, to the point where Jennifer told the story that I guess at one facility, they were really concerned about somebody that I guess they had normally worked with, and they had to find a way that they would be able to work together to provide that sense of, non-isolation, I guess is the right word.
Right. And it is mentally draining. I mean, it's mentally draining on me. Yeah. I can't imagine being locked in a facility without seeing anybody I know.
Yeah. And so, interestingly enough, what we were talking about in the first half of the show was also that you, as a board-certified elder law attorney, you guys are deemed an essential business, and so throughout this entire effort, you guys have still had to be available and on point and try to maneuver so you could do everything effectively. And you mentioned something I wanted to bring up in the second half of this show. You were talking about, the need for powers of attorney goes on. And in fact, that was the TV show, one of the two TV shows that we recorded on Thursday, which you will be seeing out on the Helping Seniors site. It's in post-production now. It will hit Space Coast Broadcast TV's broadcast schedule in the month of October, but it will probably be out by the middle of the month on our YouTube channel and such like that. But you were talking about, particularly in these times we live in, getting those documents right is not only kind of important, it becomes life or death in some cases.
True. We've been talking about the challenges of getting into a facility to get documents executed and the challenges of getting in to visit a loved one. Well, a lot of people are trying to deal with all this all at the same time. And I think the point I was trying to make is make sure you have all your documents done ahead of time. When the crisis hits, now's not the time to try and, juggle everything all at once while the clock's ticking. Do some planning and get things done ahead of time.
Yeah, that was actually the point that I carried away from the conversation on that TV show. You really went into some great depth about the importance of thinking about the right things to have in your durable power of attorney. And I remember some of the points that you brought out where you said, well, number one, you don't give somebody a particular authority unless it's in that power of attorney. And I thought, boy, when you get into all these unknowns of COVID, that could really get complicated.
It can. And I mean, a lot of people don't even read their power of attorney. They just sign it and assume because it says durable power of attorney, it'll do everything they need somebody to do. And that's not the case.
And that was the thing. That was the other thing that you pointed out was, you see people that come in maybe out of state and they had perfectly good documents, maybe done 20 years ago or something, but now there's challenges because the rules are different in Florida.
Right. The way we interpret the power of attorney is different in Florida. And so subsequently, a lot of those out of state check the box format powers of attorney from like New York or Illinois really don't work well in Florida.
Yeah, and then on top of it, we were talking about that people will come in with, I guess, homegrown documents. Maybe a friend at church said, oh, here's what you need, or they got it at an office supply store or something like that. And then you have to have the sad duty of telling somebody who's in a crisis situation, well, this isn't really going to do what you thought it was going to do.
Exactly. There are some forms floating out there that haven't been good since the 90s.
Wow.
And they're still floating, and people are still giving them to people, telling them, oh, yeah, this will do everything you need.
Wow. And we talked about that, just in general, the ability to get these things done ahead of time before a crisis hits is so simple. And we were even talking about the extreme outcome is, if somebody can't take care of things and there was no real plan in place, now you're looking at a guardianship or something to try to work at, and boy, that sounded expensive.
Yeah, exactly. If you're stuck in a facility in COVID and you can't get out, it's a little too late to try and add your daughter's name to your bank account so she can pay your bills.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. And now, we're having trouble getting in to get you to sign a power of attorney to give her that authority. So it's kind of a double whammy. We can't get in and you can't get out.
And I think we were talking about there was a weird quirk that there was some ability through these digital acts or something that I remember we did a radio show back in the summer, Joe, and you talked a lot about some of the changes to these digital forms that now you can have a digital notary and certain things. But the quirk was that if you're in a facility, that may not be applicable.
Correct. There was an exception for vulnerable adults, and vulnerable adults was defined as people who need assistance with activities of daily living. So that would basically include everybody in assisted living or nursing home, and you weren't eligible to have an electronically signed document if you were a vulnerable adult.
So if you thought about it, by doing the right thing ahead of time, and we were talking about this, you're not saving maybe $1,000 or $2,000. You could be saving tens of thousands, or as you talked about in a couple of cases, somebody had made some mistakes or there was some family stuff involved and it ended up being hundreds of thousands.
Correct. Just a bare bones uncontested guardianship is somewhere around $10,000.
Wow.
And that would be how we would have to go get somebody the power to manage your financial affairs if you didn't give anybody that power in like a durable power of attorney. And then if you have a contested guardianship, we basically have to have a trial to figure out who's going to be your guardian.
Wow.
And that can get very expensive.
So, the wisdom of everything that you've been talking about is let's plan ahead. Now, let's talk for just a minute. If you're a person who maybe has been inspired as we've been talking about this, like, well, maybe I think I have this together, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it in a while. And the challenge is, I guess you don't know if you've got it right until the moment you need it. And then if you need it in that moment, you probably can't do much to change it. How would you tell somebody, look, this is what I would say might be a way to approach this. Gather these things together, call my office. I mean, how would you tell somebody, the average person, to say, let's do this? This would be prudent.
Well, one of the things you should do is always have something that tells us what documents you've done, where your accounts are, what insurances you have, health, life, disability, and have all that information all gathered in one place. Mm-hmm. So that if something does happen to you, we're not trying to guess where to go and what company to call or who your insurance is. And that way it makes it very easy. If something happens to you, then everything's in one place and they know, what they're working with.
That seems so important from the standpoint that because as you've also explained in those TV shows, and by the way, folks, I want to encourage you to go to Helping Seniors of Brevard on YouTube, because if you just Google in our channel, you're going to find dozens of shows that Bill has done with Joe Steckler over the years, and you guys have covered like a wide range of topics. Medicaid planning, you've talked about guardianship, you've talked about probate, you've talked about powers of attorneys, and even something called superpowers and things like that. So there's so many resources that are available to you for free on the Helping Seniors YouTube channel. You can also find them on our Facebook page. You can also find them at Helping Seniors of Brevard. But the point I wanted to get at, Bill, was to say that you've explained that we all think of these things in a vacuum. We say, okay, I have my durable power of attorney, so I'm good to go. I have my health care surrogate, so I'm good to go. But that may not necessarily have set things up correctly for, if you're facing Medicaid planning or things like that. So again, how would you suggest, generally to somebody, like, this would be a good way to prepare for that consultation with an elder law attorney like yourself for that first visit? What should I bring to the office?
Well, we're going to look at probably three different things. One is your estate planning. Mm-hmm. So bring in your will and or trust, mm-hmm. as well as, information about what comprises your estate. Mm-hmm. Basically your asset and income information. The second thing we'd look at is your incapacity planning. Do you have your advance directives done? Do you have a durable power of done? Who are your decision makers? What is your end of life wishes? Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is, what happens if you have a long-term care event? How are you going to go about paying for it? Are you going to pay out of your pocket? Do you have long-term care insurance? Are you a veteran? Are you going to try and qualify for Medicaid to defray the costs? What is your plan? And those are the three real areas that we target.
And the thing that I, again, have learned watching you and Joe talk about this over the years is that sometimes things done where we do our do-it-yourself planning, we actually can make a situation worse. I remember in particular, we were talking about Medicaid planning. Maybe I thought, well, I'm going to give stuff away to the kids so that, because that's who I want to leave it to anyway, and that'll set me up the right way. And then we find out that, no, now you're going to wait 60 months or something crazy before you get any help because that's considered a gift, and that's in that look-back period and all these complicated factors.
Yeah, you can really damage yourself through ignorance, especially if you're trying to qualify for either VA or Medicaid. If you're giving any assets away or making gifts to your kids or supporting your kids, for both of those programs, that's a kind of a big no-no now.
Yeah, and yet there are ways that you are able to correctly and legally help in all that, and that's where the value of having the wisdom of a good elder law attorney would seem so important, and the cost of setting all that up ahead of time is pennies on the dollar compared to the danger that you would be, trying to fight the battle on your own.
Correct. Yeah. The having to go about, prevention is much better than trying to have to cure the problem later.
Yeah. I always say, I would think if we called any fireman or fire person in Brevard County and said, hey, listen, would you rather come and tell me what I should fix in my home so it doesn't burn out, or would you rather come and spray down the embers?
Yeah, put out the fire.
Yeah, I think they would tell you, let's do the first. So again, it sounds like that document, that booklet that you've got put together is maybe a real good eye opener, a good place to start. And then they should also call your office and maybe say, listen, I'd like to set up a time and come in and just present what I've got, and then you can tell them where they need to go from, what steps would be appropriate from there.
That's correct. And we do free consultations. So we will sit down with you, look through everything, and give you our opinion.
So let's go for that phone number again if you want to reach Bill's office. Bill Johnson, William A. Johnson, PA, to be specific.
321-253-1667.
And also you have a great website at
FloridaElderLaw.net.
FloridaElderLaw.net. And again, you can meet Bill on TV. Look at some of those programs that Joe and Bill have done over the years. It's great general material, and it will give you a sense for, at least you'll have a recognition of some of the pitfalls that you want to try to avoid, and just getting that right help at the right time is going to help. So thank you, Bill, for sharing that. Do you have any other thoughts as we move into this next phase of COVID relief that I guess now we're going to move into maybe being able to have some visits in the assisted livings and things like that?
Well, like you said, life still happens. We're all wearing masks, but, life still goes on and things are still going to happen, and best to be prepared for them.
Yeah, no, I agree totally with that. So in the moments remaining, I'd like for us to shift back, because it is so important that we talk about the fundraiser. This is our fundraiser moment. If I would tell you this was almost like our equivalent of a telethon. In fact, it is becoming a telethon, because with the COVID restrictions, we're going to give away those Helping Seniors raffle cars on October 10th, 2020. So it's Saturday, October 10th, 2020. I believe the time is 8 p.m. The drawing is going to be Facebook Live. It's going to be YouTube Live. We're going to find a way to make sure you can also see it at helpingseniors.carraffle.com and on our website. But we're going to be there broadcasting live from the American Muscle Car Museum. And while we can't have any outside visitors that day, again, because of the COVID precautions, Mark Pylock, the owner of the American Muscle Car Museum, has generously said, listen, I'm going to make it possible for Helping Seniors raffle car ticket holders to visit the museum. We're just going to do this as soon as the governor says it's safe to do so. And I'll give, literally like 3 different dates that Helping Seniors ticket holders can join us at the museum free of charge. And I'll even, spring for the pizza and the soda. And so everybody can have a really nice and pleasant time. So remember, when you get your Helping Seniors car raffle ticket, you are actually doing 3 things. And John Harper, you know how important all of this is because you've been with Joe. Well, actually, you helped Joe get into radio to begin with, and then you helped him literally from day one getting the Helping Seniors organization rolling. But, there's 3 things you get out of that raffle car ticket. Number 1, for yourself, it's a chance to pick one of those amazing new cars that we talked about. Number 2, it is definitely going to be an admit one to the American Muscle Car Museum, so you can see all those wonderful cars. That alone is worth the price of the ticket. But as MasterCard likes to say, the priceless part of this is really that you're paying it forward, and you're helping keep the work of Helping Seniors going now into its 2nd decade.
If, by the way, Kerry, if people have not been to the Muscle Car Museum, it's a incredible sight, and I'd go so far as to say there's no other museum in the country that can rival this particular one. It is absolutely incredible and worth the price of paying that ticket to get a new car that we are raffling off and to see the museum as well.
Yeah, Bill, you've been in there, right?
I have, and I kind of like cars, and it's amazing that we have that here in Brevard.
It is.
It's quite a collection. Maybe Jay Leno has some more or something.
Maybe, yeah, and I'm sure there's some others, but nonetheless, here on the east coast of Florida, and especially here in Florida, nothing even comes close.
Yeah, it is really fantastic because you go in there. First of all, it's like the size of 3 aircraft hangars.
Uh-huh.
I think he has like 350 plus cars there, and Last time I heard, it was like $75 million worth of automotive greatness there. And every one of those cars is like spit polished. I mean, they are like in the most amazing condition.
They're all beauties.
They are.
So I was thinking last year, if you guys remember how the event went last year, and the lady who won, she was local. She was there that night. It was actually so funny when I remember Mark Pylock standing up with a loudspeaker, and he was saying, he was reading the numbers. If your ticket starts with this number, and then as it got down to the end, and they finally read that last number, and the lady couldn't believe it. They pulled her up to the front, and she was like almost like, I can't believe this is me. But she wanted that Dodge Challenger, and I remember going in there, and that night he had like 4 brand new Dodge Challengers that he had literally bought directly off the lot from AJ Hires, and he just set them on the racks. And that's, to me, it's like one of the most. I remember seeing. I don't know why this made an impression on me. Like a 1973 Chevrolet Vega, brand spanking new, had 8 miles on it, had never hit a street. It's probably the only one that never rusted out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an amazing collection, and right when you walk in, all those Ford GTOs are just
incredible. I think last year his toy was he had just gotten one of those. I can't remember the model, but I remember them explaining like it was a hand-built Ford. It was a $750,000 car, and he had been fortunate to get one of the only models that was for sale. It was really incredible.
And Kerry, what again are the particular cars that are involved that folks can choose from?
Right. So the car is a 2020 Dodge Challenger, a 2020 Mazda Miata convertible, 2020 Kia Sportage, or 2020 Chevrolet Camaro. And so one of the things I want to remind you is how to get tickets, helpingseniors.carraffle.com, helpingseniors.carraffle.com, and or you can call us at 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770. That's also the Senior Information Helpline, but Kim will be happy to get you set up with tickets. And so actually the third place you can get these tickets is you can go by any of AJ's dealerships. He's got the Dodge Chrysler Jeep store out on Merritt Island. He's got the Mazda store in downtown Melbourne, Kia, downtown Melbourne, and of course that lovely Chevrolet facility right there on US 1. You can get your tickets there. Bill, I believe you guys have some at your law office too.
we do.
So if you need a ticket, we're going to find a way to get you that ticket so that you can be part of the Helping Seniors Car Raffle. So, Bill, we probably have just a couple of moments left. You want to give that phone number one more time so that people can connect with you either to get that resource guide or, better yet, make that appointment and get the free consultation so we can really get to the bottom and make a good plan.
It's 321-253-1667.
That's great. Or FloridaElderLaw.net. And so, John Harper, thanks for helping us hold down the fort. We're trying to keep the seat warm for Joe. Hopefully he'll be feeling back to joining us on the radio here either next week or the week after, and that's what we're going to look forward to from this side, John.
That'll be great. And thank you, Kerry Fink. We appreciate it. Also, Bill Johnson. Don't forget, you can hear Helping Seniors of Brevard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock, right here on WEJF.